Alright, so behind me here is my 1997 Chevy pickup. It's got a service body on it, Vortec 350. Rodney's being a little rowdy on it, so I suppose we need to get this thing pulled in the shop, get the engine yanked out of it, and go from there. Now this thing's actually been sitting here for a couple of months, so what do you think the chances are that we gotta jump start this thing? Pretty dang good, I'd say. Alright, let's try this again. Ooh, that sounds bad. Alright, it's running. Let's go ahead and get this thing inside before she blows up. So yeah, this truck's actually in pretty nice shape. It's not real rusty. It's pretty clean. It's got, I don't know, 220,000 miles on it. It's not the original engine in it. When I bought this truck, it had a bent valve, bent push rod on one cylinder, and I just yanked the motor out, dropped the junkyard engine in it. It was not a low mileage junkyard engine. I think the engine had like 20,000 miles less than the actual truck did, but I've just thrown an engine in here, and that was, oh, that had to have been at least 6 or 7 years ago now. And anyway, seems that engine's kicked the bucket, so we're going to yank this out, and I'm going to tear this engine apart. I've got another crankshaft, I've got a set of rods and pistons, I've got another camshaft, all for Vortec 350, so I'm hoping I can do a real quick, just cheap, down and dirty rebuild on it. But we got to get the engine out, get it torn apart before I know if I'm doing that. If this engine needs a bunch of machine shop work or something on the block, I'll just put another junkyard engine in it. But first things first, I want to get this engine out, and then that way I can roll the truck back out into the yard there where it's out of my way, and I can get this engine torn apart at my leisure. And typically use this pickup a whole lot. I mean, it comes in really handy when I do use it, but I'd been using it quite a bit more than usual because I have two other pickups that are broke down right now too. And I had just put a brand new set of tires on this about 500 miles before the engine decided to kick a rod. So, like to have this truck back up and running, I do need something that's four-wheel drive that can tow a trailer for hauling my skid steer around this winter for doing snow removal. Hopefully I'll get my other two pickups fixed here soon too, but I'm hoping to have this engine out before the end of the day here today. It's already getting kind of late, it's probably close to noon already, but hoping I can have this engine out before the end of the day. I've got one extra day to try to get some extra stuff done this week, so hopefully we'll have this sitting on the ground before the end of the day. I've done complete engine swaps on this style of pickup in a single day before, so I don't think that'll be a problem. Get the hood off out of the way so we get a little more room to work. And then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get the fan clutch, shroud, radiator out of here, all the fluids drained, start getting everything disconnected. Alright, so I might not be an expert here, but I just disconnected that oil cooler line there, and that is all metal that come out of that oil cooler right here. I think that might be a bad sign. There's a little better look at the inside of those oil cooler ports. They're just completely packed full of metal. Alright, so this AC was working on this truck, and I don't want to have to evacuate the AC system. So I'm just going to leave the lines hooked up to the AC compressor. Try to get this thing over this way somewhere out of the way. We're going to leave all the lines hooked up to it so we don't have to evacuate the Freon. Alright, so basically everything's done from the top side of the engine here now. The harness is all disconnected, laid up. Basically, I think we got just about everything on the top side here. I need to drop the exhaust down pipes and then start disconnecting the transmission. I'm going to go ahead and drain the oil here. Alright, so I thought this might be kind of interesting to you guys. I just drained the oil and pulled the oil filter off. Now, if you look at the magnet on the plug here, there is absolutely no metal on it, but yet the oil that came out looked like a bass boat. And I'm thinking that when we get this oil filter cut open here, this oil filter is going to be completely plugged up with metal. At least that's what I'm assuming. We're going to find out here shortly. Anybody need any paint for their bass boat? Now, it's honestly not quite as bad as I thought it would be, but it's pretty bad. Definitely a lot of metal in there. Now, you might be asking yourself, how can we have so much metal in the filter and there's nothing on the magnet on the drain plug? Well, bearing material is a non-ferrous metal. See, it doesn't stick to the magnet. The magnetic materials, now your magnetic materials are going to be things like crankshaft, camshaft, rings, cylinder liners. Bearings are made of a non-ferrous metal, so they're not going to stick to the magnet. So, being that I don't see a lot of magnetic metal, and we have a lot of bearing metal, I got pretty high hopes that that block's going to be okay. Alright, so, unless I missed something, this engine should be about ready to come out. Should have all the bell housing bolts out, all the torque converter bolts, engine mount bolts are out. We'll see what all we got still connected and when we start lifting this thing out.
the engine's out, it's on the ground. Awfully really curious to get this engine torn apart and see exactly what's going on inside of it. But even though this only took me about 4.5 hours to get this engine out, you know, I got a pretty light start on it here today, so I think it's time to wash up, call it a day. I'll come back tomorrow and get all this stuff picked up and truck shoved back outside, and we'll get this engine torn apart another day. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe down below. Thank you. Have a great day.